what is up, you guys? Sean here, and I cannot believe it. Earlier this morning, I woke up and found out that Warren Buffett has sold all of his shares in the airline companies. And I want to talk about what that means, what you should be doing if you've already invested in the airlines, what you should do if you haven't invested yet but have been considering, and just how crazy this future is going to look for the airlines and their valuations. Now, for those of you who do not know who Warren Buffett is, he is basically one of the greatest investors of all time. His nickname is the Oracle of Omaha. And without getting into too much detail, he basically is one of the richest people in the world, one of the most successful investors of the world. And to really understand what we're going to be talking about here in a second, we need to understand his investing philosophy, which is value investing. Now, without going into crazy details about what value investing is, essentially is you make an assessment on what you think the company is worth and assess it versus what it's trading for and its public, worth on the stock market. And then you determine, is it undervalued or overvalued? And you make a decision from there. Another example would be in real estate would be, let's say you're looking at buying a home for an investment or even for yourself. And you've been looking in this one little community and you found a house that you like that's selling for $150,000. And you know, because you've looked in this area, that every other house that's the same size, same number of bedrooms, same square footage, same yard, that every other single house has been selling for $200,000, and that this one is only selling for $150,000, you know you're getting a good value because you've compared it to all the other companies, the other houses, you've made an assessment on it. Well, that's essentially what Warren Buffett does with his stock buying. And he's a long-term buy and hold investor. So he's not like a buy today, sell tomorrow. So this is important to know as we move forward. So let's talk about this. I couldn't believe it when I saw that he sold his stuff, because he took a massive hit. We're talking $1 billion of hit from selling his stakes in the airlines. Because if you've been following the news lately, or if you've been watching the stock markets, the airlines have been hit massively. Like virtually nobody's traveling. The airports look like a post-apocalyptic crazy. I mean, literally, there's literally two people in airports at a time. It's nuts. I mean, there's some flights that literally have like 5 people in the plane. The stocks have had a massive hit with no one traveling because of all the stay-at-home orders and things like that. And some of these airlines have fallen 70 and even 80%. So a lot of people have been excited because like, hey, what an exciting discount. Like, listen, when people are selling, I should be buying. Well, yes, it's normally true sometimes, but we do have to look at the long-term outlook as well. So even though these airlines have fallen 70, 80%, these are some of the reasons why Warren Buffett is not too excited about the future of the airlines. So he brought up a couple points. So even though he said that he believes the CEOs are managing the airlines well, that they're making some good decisions, his concerns are a few of the following. Number one is government involvement in the airlines. So in order to keep these airlines from completely bankrupting, recently the government had to send massive bailouts in the billions of dollars into these companies in order to keep them afloat and stay alive. But here's some things you have to understand when it comes to the company's future outlook and valuation. This is going to dramatically change the finances of the company, because when the government gives you billions of dollars, they're going to want something in return. So these companies are going to have to probably pay it back at some point, which means their cash flow is going to be dropped dramatically. In addition, U.S. Treasury has also issued its ability to buy back shares at a cheaper rate. So between these two things, there could be a pretty major hit to the finances, even when our economy even gets back to normal, because there's going to be so much debt owed that these companies are going to have to use for any bit of profit to begin paying that back and paying some of those things off. That's going to affect the value that these companies have, meaning that their future outlook is looking pretty dismal. In fact, Warren Buffett even quoted that, this has changed airlines as we know it, this pandemic. The other thing that he brought up that was, pretty interesting as well, is that even if over the next 2 or 3 years that airlines get back to 70 to 80% of the capacity at which they were before as far as the amount of people traveling, there's still going to be far too many planes just sitting now in inventory that are not being utilized, which once again is a cash flow issue. It's going to be a monetary issue. So Warren Buffett, on making his assessment, has determined that these airlines just it does not look promising. So hey, what does that mean for you as an investor? So let's talk about this. So what's happened if you've already invested in these airlines? So let's say, just a few weeks ago, a month ago, you saw the massive hit, it took 70%, you said, look, this is the time to buy, massive discount, I'm buying it 70% off, this is huge. What should you do? I would say wait it out. So while Warren Buffett's looking long term, he's also got a lot more money. He's got other shareholders in place. There's a lot of things that he has to consider. And the other thing you need to understand too is that, remember, Warren Buffett is a value investor, but he doesn't typically invest in things that he doesn't have a very good grasp on. For instance, he is notorious for not investing in tech companies, which over the last handful of years have grown astronomically. I mean, you've got companies like Tesla who've grown over 100% in a year sometimes, or companies like Apple who've had massive growth. Now, it wasn't until recently that Buffett has begun investing in Apple, but in general, Buffett tends to stay away from tech companies or, large growth companies, because he doesn't believe that a lot of these companies hold the value that it says it is, because it becomes more of instead of being an intrinsic value, it's also kind of based on the name of the company and the reputation and things. There's a lot more other factors into it. And he likes to invest in exactly what he knows and he can calculate. So when thinking about that, he's probably looking at this saying hey, I can't truly figure out exactly how this is going to look, and it doesn't look that promising by a number standpoint. So I'm just going to get out while I can and move on to something bigger and better. Now, for someone like you though, hey, there's still some potential growth. What if it goes up 10, 20, 30%? So maybe it never gets to where it was before, but if you invested at the very, very down point of the market, there's still some room for growth. Now, if you were invested before the downturn and you've lost all your money, I would say still, I wouldn't sell yet. I don't think the stocks are going to go that much lower if they do. I mean, hey, it's possible. They may completely bankrupt and you lose everything, which is not good, but I really doubt that's possible, and I don't foresee that happening because the government has issued so much money into these things. They're not going to want them to fail. So I do think it's going to be unlikely that the airlines completely go to a value of zero. So my suggestion would be to just wait it out. Hold on to it, see if you can recapture some of those losses. It may never get to where it was when you originally invested, but if you at least get a big chunk of that back, that would be helpful. Now, what if you're a new investor and you're like, hey, 70% off, I'm looking at these right now today and I want to get invested? I would say that yes, there is a potential for these things to grow over the next 6 months, year, 2 years, 3 years, and longer. I would say this though, if Warren Buffett has proceeded with caution and decided to exit out, there is a pretty good likelihood that this may not be the most advantageous investment. That's not to say he's right 100% of the time. And he knows he's not right. He says it all the time. He's not right. No investor is right every single time. I would say invest an amount that you're willing to completely lose if you're wrong and everything just went to crap. That would be my advice. So pick an amount that you're willing to risk and lose everything, and you're going to be okay. So I would not put all my eggs in one basket. If you've been spending years and years saving and this is all you've got, and you're going to say, hey, 70% off, I'm getting my value, I would not do that. I would take a small amount, invest it, and let it grow. See how it goes. You may be surprised. It may skyrocket, and we don't know. But like I said, I find that unlikely because yes, these airlines are going to have an issue with people traveling, wanting to feeling safe over the next couple years, because this pandemic is going to be going on for a while, especially until we get vaccines going and stuff like that, where people feel more comfortable traveling, where they need to go. So that means that cash flow is going to be an issue. Not to mention those airlines have a massive amount of debt, and new loans are going to begin paying back. So definitely consider those things. But if this provided value to you, make sure you smash that like button, hit the subscribe button for me. It means the world to me. I want to know your thoughts. Have you already invested in it? What are you doing? Are you not investing? Why are you not? What are your thoughts on all this? Do you still think this is a good opportunity or not? Would you advise selling if you have money in it? Would you advise investing if you don't? Or should you be investing even more since it's down? I want to hear your thoughts. But in all truth and sincerity, I really hope that you are staying safe, you're staying well, that you're doing okay. Reach out to people, stay connected to your community. This is a scary time for so many people financially, health-wise, and I just wish you the best during this journey.